It was an empire that held the globe. An airline that became a country unto itself. And then, it was simply gone. They called them the China Clippers. Great flying boats that connected continents when the world felt impossibly vast. How did one company chart the skies, build its own airfields, and become the face of a nation's ambition? This was American World Airways. A name that promised adventure, luxury, and a glimpse of the future itself. Their blue globe logo, the meatball, was more recognized than many countries' flags. It was a symbol of trust. But empires are not supposed to vanish overnight. So what broke the airline that ruled the world? The story begins not with an ending, but with a singular, audacious vision. A dream of a connected planet. He saw the sky not as a barrier, but as a highway. The final frontier for commerce and culture. During World War II, Pan Am became an unofficial arm of the military, its pilots charting vital new air routes. It was America's chosen instrument. A tool of foreign policy that flew the flag to the farthest corners of the earth. This deep connection to power made it seem untouchable, invincible. But was this a strength or a fatal flaw? The paradox is clear. To understand its fall, we must first understand the incredible gamble it took to rise. The great gamble was the jet age. Tripp bet the entire company on a new kind of plane, the Boeing 707. Suddenly, crossing the Atlantic wasn't a day-long journey, it was a matter of hours. The world shrank. The reward was total market dominance. Pan Am became synonymous with glamour, sophistication, and modernity, but the risk was immense. These new jets were astronomically expensive. One misstep could bankrupt the company. Then came the next gamble, even bigger than the last. The Queen of the Skies, the Boeing 747. It was a flying palace, a double-decker marvel designed to make air travel affordable for the middle class. The iconic Pan Am building in New York City was a monument to this power. A skyscraper that was a promise. From its roof, helicopters ferried passengers directly to the airport. It felt like living in the world of tomorrow. Even their ticket offices were architectural marvels designed by masters. Every detail reinforced the brand's prestige. Their flight attendants became global fashion icons, their uniforms designed by Parisian couturiers. They were ambassadors of elegance. This airline even sold tickets to the moon. They were confident they would be there when the time came. At its zenith, Pan Am was more than an airline. It was a five-star hotel chain, a real estate giant, a global conglomerate. It was woven into the fabric of American life and imagination, a fixture as permanent as the sky itself. But the bigger the empire, the more vulnerable its foundations. Cracks were beginning to form, unseen by the public. The very gambles that fueled its ascent were now becoming enormous liabilities. The fleet of giant jets needed to be filled. The stage was set for a perfect storm. The clues to its collapse were hiding in plain sight, waiting to be connected. The first piece of the puzzle, the 1973 oil crisis. Fuel prices quadrupled almost overnight. For an airline with a fleet of thirsty 747s, this was a catastrophic blow. The cost of crossing the ocean skyrocketed. The great gamble on jumbo jets, once a masterstroke, had suddenly become an anchor weighing them down. So, a new question arises. Why couldn't this global giant simply adapt its fleet to the new reality? The answer reveals the next clue. Deregulation. In 1978, the government changed the rules of the sky. Suddenly, any airline could fly anywhere. Pan Am's protected international routes were now open to fierce competition. Competitors with smaller, more efficient planes and lower costs began to chip away at Pan Am's dominance. Crucially, Pan Am had no domestic routes to feed its international hubs. It was a giant with no roots. They tried to fix this by buying national airlines, but the merger was a disaster of warring company cultures. They were losing money, fast. To stop the bleeding, they began to sell their most valuable assets. First, the building, then the profitable intercontinental hotel chain. They were selling the crown jewels to pay the bills. Then came the most painful sale of all, the entire Pacific division, the historic heart of the airline. It felt like a betrayal of its own legacy. A desperate move that signaled the end was near. Still, the brand was strong. People believed Pan Am would survive. Then came the day that changed everything. December 21st, 1988. Pan Am Flight 103. A name forever linked with tragedy over Lockerbie, Scotland. A terrorist bomb destroyed the plane, killing everyone on board and 11 people on the ground. The attack shattered the public's trust. Pan Am, the symbol of American reach, was now a symbol of its vulnerability. Bookings plummeted. Passengers were afraid to fly. The financial bleeding became a torrent that could not be stopped. This was the final fatal blow. It combined all the existing problems into an unsolvable crisis. The great gamble for global reach had made it a target. Its own fame had become its greatest liability. In the background, another war was brewing. The Gulf War caused fuel prices to spike again, just like in '73. This time, the weakened airline had no reserves left. No assets to sell. No way out. They sold their last valuable asset, the coveted London routes. It was a final, desperate act of survival. But the money from the sale wasn't enough to cover the massive, spiraling operational losses and debt. All the clues are now on the table. A story of ambition, innovation, and tragic timing. Each decision, from the 747 to the asset sales, made sense at the time. But together, they wove a shroud. The airline, born of audacious risk, was ultimately consumed by it. There were no more gambles left to make. The world had changed, but Pan Am in some ways had not. It was a relic of a regulated, pre-jumbo era. Decades of being the chosen instrument left it unprepared for a world of scrappy, hungry competitors. The story's momentum was now unstoppable. The final chapter was about to be written. They filed for bankruptcy in January of 1991. But they still hoped for a last-minute rescue. Delta Airlines considered a buyout, a merger that would save the iconic brand. For a moment, there was hope. But the deal collapsed. Pan Am's financial hole was too deep. The lifeline was cut. So, what was the final day like? What does it look like when an empire of the sky simply stops flying? The date was December 4th, 1991. A day of disbelief for thousands of loyal employees. The final flight was not a glamorous 747 from London. It was Flight 436, from Barbados to Miami. Sad. The pilot announced over the intercom, "We're going out of business." Many on board began to weep. At the world port at JFK, the iconic blue globe was turned off for the last time. 64 years of aviation history ended, not with a bang, but with the quiet turning of a key. All the pieces fit. The grand design revealed not a single culprit, but a cascade of misfortune. So the grand design was this: an airline built for a world that no longer existed. A beautiful, elegant fossil. It was too big, too prestigious, and too tied to the idea of being America's flag carrier to be nimble. The combination of high fuel costs, deregulation, and terror was a storm no company could have weathered. But what is its echo? What did Pan Am leave behind after its planes were grounded and its signs taken down? It left the idea of a truly global airline. It pioneered the routes that connect our modern world today. It left a legacy of glamour and service that other airlines still try to emulate. It set the gold standard. The technology it championed, from jet engines to jumbo jets, made the travel we take for granted possible. In pop culture, It remains a potent symbol of a bygone era's confidence and style. The story reminds us that even the greatest empires can be fragile, that nothing is permanent. Every stone and every faded logo carries a story of what was and what could have been. But the spirit of connecting the world, the dream that launched the Clippers, that spirit never truly vanished. The manuscript is closed, but the skies are open. Look up and find the next story waiting for you.